Welcome to According to Sam, folks, episode 374. Thank you for joining me. Going to pick up where we left off in the last podcast. Got a lot to share with you guys today. It is January 2026, and it's an election year, folks. And elections are about power, and we've already seen that a lot of things are happening in the first couple of weeks of this new year. I mean, not even a couple of weeks. We're barely into 2026 and things are moving very fast. This summer is going to be chaos. I have started watching the Game of Thrones series again. I've watched it all the way through, but for some reason I was looking for something to watch and I went back. I think Game of Thrones, it was very, very well done. The writing, in it is great. There's one, scene where, the Littlefinger character, if you've seen it, is having a conversation with the eunuch, Varys, and one of the many, brilliant, famous lines from Game of Thrones is Littlefinger telling Varys that chaos is a ladder. Chaos is a ladder. That people who use chaos to gain power. That's the Democratic Party. That's if that doesn't that's not a description of the Democratic Party and the way that and the things that they do to gain power using chaos. We saw it in 2020, and looks like they're trying to bring it back for 2024. This is a very important election year for them. They need to get some power. So it's not beneath them to use chaos as a ladder to get some power. So in the past couple of podcasts, for weeks now, we've been talking about the Babylonian captivity. We've been talking about Jewish history and how the ancient city of Jerusalem, the kingdom of Judah, was destroyed. Solomon's temple was destroyed by the king of Neo-Babylonia, Nebuchadnezzar. He brings 7,000 to 10,000 Jewish exiles back to Babylon, and we've been talking about that. We've been talking about Daniel and the book of Daniel. Daniel was one of the exiles who was brought back from the kingdom of Judah back to Babylon as a captive, as an exile. And we were talking about the dream that Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, he has this dream. No one can interpret the dream. He calls together his astrologers, his sorcerers, his enchanters, his magicians, and tells them that I not only want you to interpret the dream, I want you to tell me what the dream was first and then interpret it for me. They're unable to do it. And the king is threatening to kill them all. And then Daniel comes and he petitions King Nebuchadnezzar to allow him to pray to his God, and that God will reveal what the dream was and what it means. And that's what takes place in the second chapter of the book of Daniel. We've been talking about that. We've been talking about the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, and Daniel interprets it. And if you go back and you read the second chapter of the book of Daniel, you see that after Daniel tells him what the dream was and interprets the dream, that Nebuchadnezzar falls on his face. He starts worshiping Daniel's God and saying that, yes, your God revealed this. And the dream was of this statue of a man with his arms folded, and the statue was made out of 4 different metals, gold being the most precious of the metals. is the head, silver, the arms and chest, bronze is the waist and thighs, and then the legs are made of iron, and then you have iron mixed with clay, or the feet. And Daniel explains to them, these are all kingdoms that are going to, your kingdom is the kingdom of gold, King Nebuchadnezzar, but after you, there's going to be another kingdom. And it's going to be less pure than your kingdom, less refined than your kingdom, but it's going to be stronger. It's going to be a stronger metal, and it's going to be silver, and that's going to be the silver arms and chest represents the kingdom that comes after you. We talked about the kingdom that came after Babylon in the last podcast, which was the Medo-Persian Empire, Cyrus the Great being the ruler of that empire and conquering Babylon. We're going to eventually get into the transition of power from the Persians to the Greeks, Macedonian Greeks, and Alexander the Great. We're going to get into that in a future podcast. We've talked about Rome. We've already talked about Rome being the legs, and I was explaining to you about how the two different legs came about with Diocletian and Tetrarchy, and Constantine the Great comes to power, moves the capital from Rome to Constantinople, Byzantium, and how the two legs of the Roman Empire are represented. We talked about that. And we've also talked about the fifth kingdom here. All of these are kingdoms. All of these are kingdoms. The word kingdom is very important because as I was explaining to you when we talked about the iron mixed with clay, is that if you go back and you read the scriptures and you read the gospels and the recorded ministry of Jesus by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will see and notice that Jesus Christ, when he comes on the scene, the only thing he talks about over and over again is the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is like. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of God. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, thy kingdom, thy kingdom, thy kingdom. That he was coming to establish a kingdom. I mean, and a kingdom, it's made up of two words, king and domain. A kingdom is made up of a monarch, a monarch, a single ruler who rules over a domain, a empire, a country. That's what a kingdom is. So all of these different metals are kingdoms. And we talked about the fifth kingdom here, which I believe this is where we're living today. And this is a kingdom that is partially iron and partially clay, iron representing the Roman Empire, but it doesn't have the cohesion. That's the reason that the iron mixed with clay is used here, is because you don't have the cohesion. There's no unity. There's this division going on in the kingdom that's making it weaker because it's not united. And I told you that I believe, and there's many different theories about what the fifth kingdom represents with the iron mixed with clay, but I told you that I believe it is democracy, and I believe it's democracy for many reasons. So in the last podcast, I started talking about the fact that democracy has some inherent weaknesses, just like monarchy. We can look throughout history and see that you've had different monarchs who were wicked, who didn't care for the people, who only cared about pleasure and feeding off of the people. That there's been many monarchs throughout history that we can say fit those characteristics. And then we have a handful of good monarchs who were pious, who cared for the people, who fought for the people. And so, I mean, there's some pros and cons of monarchy, but also there's some pros and cons of democracy. And that's what I was explaining in the last podcast, that democracy has some inherent weaknesses. This is a very famous quote from Alexander Fraser Tytler. And he was a British philosopher and, I mean, very prominent person in the early part of the United States, or actually the Fraser was even before there was a United States. He was a philosopher in England, I believe. Anyway, this is a very famous quote from him, and it says, "A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until voters discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury." Let me read that again, that first sentence. "A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until voters discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury." What is that? What's largesse? It's anything. That welfare, that health care, the healthcare subsidies just got well, they haven't gotten renewed, but the House voted on them and passed a 3-year renewal of Obamacare subsidies. That's largesse. Whatever it is. I mean, we're $39 trillion in debt. The biggest part of our debt is our entitlement programs, one of the largest portions of our debt. That's what he means here by largesse. A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until voters discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury. From that moment on, the majority, this is democracy. This is one of the inherent weaknesses in democracies. And this is only one example of the weaknesses of democracy. From that moment on, the majority always vote for the candidate promising the most benefits from the public treasury, with the result of that democracy always collapses over loose fiscal policy, always followed by a dictatorship. The average age of world's greatest civilizations has been about 200 years. We're in our 250th year right now. This year, on 4th of July, we're going to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. The average age of the world's greatest civilizations has been 200 years. These nations have progressed through this sequence from bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to apathy, from apathy to dependence, from dependence back to bondage. I want to read that part again. These nations have progressed through this sequence from bondage to spiritual faith. This is what happens when we're getting ready to get back into talking about the Babylonian captivity and the children of Israel, or the kingdom of Judah. That they went from bondage, and then while they're in bondage, in exile, in Babylon, they start crying out. They start regaining spiritual faith. We read Daniel in Daniel 9, when he realizes that the 70 years are up, he starts pleading with God that, God, please forgive us. Please accept us back. We were wrong in what we did. We have turned away from you. From bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to apathy, from apathy to dependence, from dependence back to bondage. So the big story right now, and this is what I'm saying, folks, is that democracy has some inherent flaws. If you can't see now, as America is in our 250th 250th year, the way that democracy is experienced on the globe today has only been in practice for about 250 years, since the beginning of America. I mean, you have different pockets of democracy being practiced in places like Athens and other places where it's been tried, and maybe some Native American tribes here in North America that we know had some forms of democracy. But the way that it is throughout the globe, where it's practiced throughout the globe, mostly in the West, has only been around for about 250 years, since the inception of the United States. And now in our 250th year, if you can't see some inherent problems with democracy, then you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. And the problems that we're having with democracy right now in the United States are so great that I don't know that the United States can make it another 250 years. Not because of any external threats. The United States has the most powerful military that the world has ever known. I don't think that any external threats are going to cripple the United States, but it's internal. It's what's going on internal. And that's why I think that the statue and the representation of the iron mixed with clay, the iron is strong. The military is strong. The nation's still strong, but the iron mixed with clay is what is not allowing that cohesion. It weakens the whole nation. And that's why I think that democracy, we're having some huge problems with our democratic system here in the United States. Now, first of all, the system was not created. We talked about this a couple of podcasts ago when I introduced this idea that democracy is the iron mixed with clay, that the system was never set up to be a pure democracy. It was that the people who founded this country, not only the people that were in Philadelphia creating the constitutional republic, if you know how that meeting went down and how many compromises that they had to come up with, that the electoral college was a compromise because the people that were having the meetings to create the new nation, different states, had different concerns. The smaller states like Connecticut, Rhode Island, they didn't want the larger states to, have more power over them. So they're the ones who said that, we're going to have the bicameral legislature just so that would give the smaller states power. That was the only way that they could get this approval to send the Constitution back to the states for ratification. When the Constitution went back to the individual states for ratifications, they had conventions in each one of those states, and they had to approve it. And the people did not want democracy. They did not want pure democracy. That's why we have what is called a representative democracy or a Jeffersonian democracy, because it's not pure democracy. It's a republic. So the major thing to understand is that the more that we go into a system of more pure democracy, the more problems we're going to have. I'll give you an example. I was thinking about this on I guess that was Tuesday. I don't remember when the 6th was. The 6th, January 6th. It lives in infamy, the January 6th. This was the 5th anniversary of the January 6th attacks on the Capitol. And remember all the things that happened throughout 2020 with Black Lives Matter and what these guys did throughout all of the country, burning down the country, looting the country, setting buildings on fire and all that. They don't talk about that. But January 6th, we got to remember January 6th. Well, if you understand what January 6th was, because people think that we are pure democracy, and they think that because Joe Biden got the most votes, then he's the president of the United States. But that's not where our system is set up at all. The person who gets the most votes becomes the president of the United States. Even if you believe that Joe Biden got the most votes without anybody stuffing boxes and people who weren't supposed to be voting were voting by mail because of COVID and all that. Even if you believe that there's no evidence of that, that doesn't matter. The way that our system is set up is that Congress chooses the president of the United States. It's the way the electoral college works. Congress chooses the president of the United States, not voters. That's the way it was set up in the beginning, that Congress chooses you. Yes, you vote to tell the members of Congress what the people want, but members of Congress don't have to choose the president of the United States just because the people vote for a particular president. And people do not understand that this is our system and this is the way the system works. What happened on January 6th, if you want to know what happened on January 6th, 2021 in Washington, D.C., is that Nancy Pelosi, this is why Nancy Pelosi didn't have more security. This is why they didn't put up the fence around the Capitol until afterwards. They wanted the riot because Nancy Pelosi understands the way our system works. And she understood that if the objections to the states where they had one member of Congress and one member of the Senate object to those electoral votes, that if they weren't able to resolve that, then that was going to kick it to the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives was going to have one vote per delegation, and that Republicans were going to choose Donald Trump. But that's the system. The system was set up that way. So Congress would choose the president of the United States and not the people. That way some demigod couldn't come up on the scene and convince the people that he was the best thing for them when he wasn't. Congress makes that decision. That's just one example of how we are not a pure democracy, and we were never, it was never intended for us to be a pure democracy. But the more that we drift into this idea of a pure democracy, the more problems we are going to have here in the United States. And we're having these problems right now. This is the big story that has happened in the last 48 hours. A couple of days ago, this woman here was shot by a ICE agent because she was trying to run him over with her car. This is her lesbian wife, and this woman has 3 children. She was heterosexual. She had 2 husbands, but then went over to started to become a lesbian. So now she's got a wife. She had 2 husbands, and now she had a wife. And these 2 were agitators. They were trying to disrupt ICE from doing their jobs. And she, I mean, I'm going to show you the video here in a moment, but this is the huge story. And what does this have to do with democracy and the weaknesses of democracy? Because you have there are millions of these people with this mindset here in the United States. If you had a monarchy, not saying monarchy is better than democracy, not saying democracy is better than monarchy, but this wouldn't be happening. This doesn't happen in kingdoms where you have people that are just going to disrupt the laws of the king and what the king says. You don't have this going on in monarchies, in empires, in kingdoms. But democracies, you have this going on, and there are millions of these people. I'm going to show you some video of that here in a moment. I want you to listen. This is some marches that they were having over the last couple, because they were trying to turn this into a George Floyd 2 type of event. George Floyd 2026, because again, this is an election year. 2020 was an election year. Chaos is a ladder. So they want to use this to get people out in the streets, to build up the resentment for the Trump administration, to get people engaged. So this is top of mind when you get into November, so they can come and vote for Democrats. This is the mindset. This is what they did in 2020. This is what they're trying to do today to turn this into a George Floyd, Black Lives Matter too. So they have all these protests. I want you to listen to what this woman says here.
Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Nobody.
Oh. Yeah. So what is she talking about? Nobody is illegal because these are ICE agents. The ICE agents were doing their job. I mean, because we do have laws, lady. There are people who are illegal, and this isn't stolen land. And you can't just come into the United States and do whatever you want. And Donald Trump was elected with a mandate. ICE is out doing their job, fulfilling the mandate that people elected him. And then so you have people with this mindset. She's got the same mindset as these two. They got the same mind. And like I said, there's millions of these people. This is why I'm saying democracy weakens nations. And these are some inherent weaknesses in democracy. Because they all have the same mindset. These two have the same mindset as her. We're going to look at that in just a moment. But so the whole reason, that's why she's saying no one is illegal. So she has taken this tragic event that's happened where this woman, Nicole Good, was killed by the ICE agent because she tried to run him over with her car. And now she's taken that and made a larger political issue about it, that no one is illegal on stolen land because these ICE agents were in Minnesota. They've been investigating not only illegals from many other places, but namely the Somalis, because of all the controversy going on around the Somali fraud. So no one is illegal on stolen land is what she said. So this is the mindset. This is a person who votes in a democracy, who has a say-so in a democracy. And again, there's millions of these people, and they have the same vote as you. They have the same ability to hand power to different people that you have. That this is the way power is distributed in a democracy. These people like this, they have this mindset.
Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Nobody. Yeah. Thank you. Everybody belongs here. You belong here. You belong here. Everybody here belongs here. This land doesn't belong to anybody. We love the Somali community. You guys don't deserve what you guys go through and the slander that people put you guys through. Thank you. Nobody.
So as you see, it's all about the Somali community is what she's saying. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. And that's crazy. So not only is nobody illegal on stolen land, that everybody belongs here. How do you live in a society with people like this? Nobody is illegal on stolen land. The land is stolen and everybody belongs here. Anybody from all over the world can come and live here. Now, if this was a monarchy, if this was a kingdom, if this was an empire, no king, no emperor, no ruler would allow this to take place in their kingdom, in their empire. But in a democracy, you can have people like this shaping policy that no one is illegal, that anybody can come here. Everybody belongs here. Millions of these people.
Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Nobody. Yeah. Thank you. Everybody belongs here. You belong here. You belong here.
Everybody belongs here. Nobody is illegal. Everybody belongs here. How do you have a system like that? How do you take care of everybody who comes in and belongs here? A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until voters discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury. How do you take care of everybody? If everybody can come in, everybody belongs here, and nobody's illegal on stolen land, so what? I mean, how do you make sure that all those people who come in from all over the world who belong here, how do you make sure that they're fed? How do you make sure? I mean, they don't even think it through. They don't even think it through. But in November, she's going to go and she's going to vote for Democrats. This woman. They're going to vote for Democrats. Women like this. They're going to vote for Democrats. So this is the wife of Nicole Good, Renee Nicole Good, and her wife, Rebecca. Rebecca's the wife. And then Renee, they were activists. They were activists against ICE. That's why they were there, trying to disrupt ICE from doing their jobs. And they were part of these groups where they were trained to disrupt ICE. Now, this is Rebecca, the wife, and you can see this video where she's sitting on the ground. And this is after Renee Good was shot, and she's there with the dog. And this is one of the neighbors, because this is afterwards the woman is shot and she's in the car. So she's outside of the car and she's completely distraught and is crying because her wife was just killed. So this is the video that is shot by this neighbor who is on his cell phone. And this is Rebecca, the wife. And I want you to take a listen and watch what's going on here. This is after the fact.
They don't. She was in the car with her, bro.
She's completely distraught. Which is understandable. Her wife just got shot and is dead there, and yeah, she's completely distraught now.
Or she tried to save her or something. Hey, was you riding with her?
That's my wife. She's crying. What did I do? This is my fault. This is what she says. This is what Rebecca says. Now, this video came out because this guy shot it on his cell phone. And, this is not body cam image or any official image. This is a guy who shot this on his cell phone in front of his house. And this is after the event. You can see that Renee Good's car is here. It crashed into this other car. And so this guy's recording it and watching the aftermath. And this is, again, the wife. This is Rebecca. And she says that, what did I do? This is my fault, is what she said. And this video came out immediately after that started going viral. And I'm going to give it some context here in a moment.
Or she tried to save her or something. Hey, was you riding with her? Did you call any of your people yet?
I don't have.
So you don't got none of her family members or anybody number? Do you know anybody on her Facebook?
I can't even breathe right now. This is my fault. She says, this is my fault. What did I do? What did I do? This is my fault. What did I do? Is what Rebecca says. So today, just a few hours ago, they released the body cam video of the officer that was hit by the car, that she basically would have run over. People are saying that she was trying to get out of there. It doesn't matter if she was trying to get out of there. And that's what the thing is that if she was trying to get out of there, and that was her intention, and she still killed the officer, it doesn't matter what her intention was. He's going to still be dead, and that's what he's thinking to himself. That's why you have manslaughter, but you have involuntary manslaughter. Maybe her intention was never to run him over, but she could have run him over. That's the thing you got to understand. Who knows what her intention was? She's dead, but it doesn't matter what her intentions were, because she could have been intending to get out of there and still run him over, and he's still going to be dead. So this is the body cam video that just came out today from his perspective, and you see the whole thing. You can see that Rebecca, the one who was just crying, she's not even in the car. That's another thing that they were saying before the fact, is that before we got this video, is that she had just dropped off her son at school, her 6-year-old son at school, and that's why she was there, and she just got caught up. No, she had just dropped off her 6-year-old son at school, but she was there disrupting ICE while ICE was doing their job. And that's why the wife, Rebecca, is not even in the vehicle. They're blocking traffic. The car had actually been there blocking traffic, blocking ICE vehicles for up to 3 minutes. So this is the officer that was almost hit and his body cam video. Take a listen and watch. She looks right at him. She's looking right at him. This is the officer, the perspective of the officer that ends up shooting her and killing her. She looks right at him when he gets out. He walks in front.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come.
So this is Rebecca. This is the wife. She's out of the vehicle with her camera, and she's harassing the ICE agents. Nicole Good had been here in this vehicle trying to block ICE for up to 3 minutes before they finally tell her to get out of the car because they're going to arrest her for disrupting their...
Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking president. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy.
So I want you to notice the different energy. Look here. I say you go get yourself some lunch, big boy. I want you to notice the different energy that Rebecca has here and the energy that Rebecca has here when she's crying. This is my fault. What did I do? This is my fault. It's different energy. Then I say you go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Different energy. In a matter of minutes, things changed for her. She went from this smug, I say you go get yourself some lunch, big boy, to crying, this is my fault, what did I do? And it's crazy how fast life can change. Crazy how fast life can change for you. And you go from this smug, I say you go get yourself some lunch, big boy, to crying, what did I do? What did I do? This is my fault. Same person, Rebecca here. Now, why is it her fault? Why is it Rebecca's fault? Well, it's probably Rebecca's fault why they were there, protesting and harassing ICE in the first place. But Rebecca also does this. Take a listen.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking president. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car.
Out of the car. Out of the car. So another ICE agent comes up, and she's already been there for 3 minutes harassing the ICE agents, trying to impede them from doing their job. Another ICE agent comes up, and he's going to arrest her, tells her to get out of the car, and then watch what Rebecca does. This is why Rebecca is saying that this is my fault. What did I do? What did I do? Listen.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Whoa. Drive, baby, drive. Drive, baby, drive. Drive, baby, drive is what Rebecca says. This is why she says that this is my fault. Because it was her fault. She's the one who told Renee, drive, baby, drive. And then at that point, who knows if she's even paying attention to the officer there. She's listening to her wife tell her, drive, baby, drive. And she starts driving and she hits the officer. The officer shoots her and ends her life. This is what happened, people.
You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Whoa.
Drive, baby, drive, drive. Drive, baby, drive, drive is what she says. And baby dead now. Baby gone. Baby gone. And from this smug attitude, I say you go get yourself some lunch, it turns into crying, what am I going to do now? This is all my fault. Pride comes before the fall. Pride goes before the fall. So anyway, that's what happened there. They wanted to try to make this a George Floyd 2 event in the beginning of this election year. They want to use this. You're going to see the Democrats use this just like they used George Floyd. You remember when they put on the African cloths and they went to the rotunda there in the Capitol and they all kneeled for George Floyd with the African cloths. How this is chaos is a ladder. Chaos is a ladder. They want to use this. Only problem is that with George Floyd, there was important video evidence that could have been released immediately to the people while they were stoking the tensions through the summer of 2020, while they were watching cities burn down, while they were watching retailers get looted, while they were watching violence and people being beat up. There was important video, the longer video of the arrest of George Floyd and all of the context, the fact that he wouldn't get in the car, the fact that he wouldn't allow them to arrest him. He kept resisting and all of that, all of the context that would have prevented people from inflaming the tensions and the civil unrest, all that they kept from us. They kept all that information from us and that video information, and they only put out the small, short video from the cell phone that showed Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck, and only the end, so they can inflame those tensions and that civil unrest. The only problem is now is that they're not in charge, and the Trump administration is putting out the video immediately of the officer from his perspective. And this video that they put out today, and this ruined, this just destroys all their narratives, all the narratives that they were trying to run with over the last 48 hours. This video destroys it all. Anyway, so those are the reasons that I believe democracy, getting back to democracy being the clay that I believe is mixed with the iron in the feet of the statue that Nebuchadnezzar dreamed. We know that the gold is the kingdom of Babylon. We know that the silver is the kingdom and empire of the Medo-Persians. We know that the bronze is the Macedonian Greek Empire. We know that the legs are Rome. But I believe that the feet, partially iron, partially clay, is the strength of the Roman Empire with democracy. And we have some real problems with our democracy in our 250th year here in the United States. And quite frankly, I don't think that the United States is going to be here living under this same type of pseudo democratic system 250 years from now. All right, so let's get back into Cyrus. How much time do I have? I don't have a lot of time. I have about 15 minutes. I want to just briefly just get back into this because we started talking about this in the last podcast. We started talking about Cyrus and coming on the scene and allowing the Jews to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple, to rebuild the city, and he basically liberates them. They're in exile under the Babylonians, but the Persians and the Medo-Persians conquer Babylon, and Cyrus allows not only the Jewish captives to go back, but all the captives that the Babylonians have brought back to Babylon and that were there in exiles. The Jews were not the only group of people that were exiled into Babylon. This was a system that the Babylonians would use. They would go to all these different regions and they would pluck out the most prominent and influential people from those cities, and they would bring them back to Babylon. So Babylon would be this great city and would have all these great people living in Babylon. This is part of the uh, the method of the Babylonians. So the Jews were not the only ones who were exiled in captivity in Babylon. But when Cyrus, when he conquers Babylon, he allows them all to go back to their homes, not just the Jews. And this is what is reflective on the seal of Cyrus, the Cyrus cylinder that we talked about in the last podcast. I was just explaining how I've been watching the Game of Thrones series again, and I was thinking about this as I've been watching the series again, and who Cyrus is Daenerys Targaryen. Daenerys Targaryen has many titles that she uses in Game of Thrones, but one of the titles that she has is the Breaker of Chains. And she goes to all these different cities and she frees all the slaves and she breaks their chains and she frees them and says, you're not going to be a slave anymore. This is one of her titles and one of the things that she does and the roles that she has in the Game of Thrones, that she is the queen of the Targaryens, the queen of the Seven Kingdoms, but also Breaker of Chains is her title. So that's who Cyrus was. Cyrus was the breaker of chains. When he conquered Babylon, he broke the chains and allowed all the captives to go free and go back to their different homelands to worship the gods as they see fit. There was one sentence that I wanted to read on this Wikipedia page that refers to that. It says, talking about the cylinder. No. This was the Wikipedia page where I wanted to read that. All right, here it is, right here. Similarly, he is exalted in Judaism for his role in freeing the Jewish people from Babylonian captivity by issuing the Edict of Restoration following the Persian conquest of Babylon. I don't think that's the sentence that I wanted to. Anyway, so Cyrus is the breaker of chains. It wasn't only the breaker of chains for the Jews, for everyone, but the Jews, it's important because he allows them to go back to rebuild the city of Jerusalem, rebuild the temple. The Edict of Cyrus, this is a Wikipedia page that talks about, it says the Edict of Cyrus usually refers to the biblical account of a proclamation by Cyrus the Great, the founding king of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, 539 BC. It was issued after the Persians conquered the Neo-Babylonian Empire upon the fall of Babylon, and is described in the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament, which claims that it authorized and encouraged the return to Zion to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. We read all the passages in Ezra. Example, Cyrus helps exiles to return to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Several of these passages. Almost out of time, and we're going to pick this up in the next podcast. But in the last podcast, I played this clip of Pastor Jack Hibbs from Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. And he's making a statement about replacement theology and saying that replacement theology is dangerous because it has to replace the church with Israel. And this is the point of view that dispensational eschatology comes from, which you're going to hear him express here. This is that you need to understand is that the majority of Zionists on this planet are not Jews. The majority of Zionists, by a lot, are Christians. The majority of Zionists who believe in the current nation of Israel and the biblical prophecies around the current nation of Israel are Christians. The The majority of Jews are not even Zionists. There's what? 15 million Jews on the planet. The majority of Jews are not Zionists. The majority, there's a lot of Jews who do not believe in Zionism. But the majority of the Zionists on this planet are Christian Zionists. Not saying that's good or bad, just stating what the truth is. And people like Pastor Jack Hibbs are Christian Zionists. They derive everything in their eschatology from Israel being in the land of Israel and being the nation of Israel that it is today. And this is what he's talking about in the this clip that we played in the last podcast. And I was explaining that that what he's talking about here could be referring to, I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but I'm saying it very well could be referring to the Jews being freed from Babylonian exile and having the ability after 7 years to return to the land where they were a nation prior to the Babylonian exile, recreate the city, recreate the nation, rebuild the temple. That's all happens after the Babylonian captivity. It's a new nation again. It's not the same kingdom of Judah that it was before the destruction of the temple, destruction of the city by Nebuchadnezzar. This is something new coming back from Babylon to establish the city again and the temple again. And he makes these prophecies. There's many of these prophecies. I have so many that probably not going to be able to get to all of them today, but we're going to read some of them. He's making, and he's not the only one, many of these Christian Zionists make the case that these prophecies are referring to the nation of Israel that was created in 1948. But it could very well be that these prophecies are referring to the nation of Israel that was created again after the Babylonian exile. Let's listen to Pastor Hibbs again.
The replacement theology individual has a horrific problem with what is called eschatology. That is the study of Bible prophecy. Because all replacement theology people have to put the church in all of the issues of the future of Israel. They take Israel out and they put the church in. So they've got eschatology that is completely messed up. Why? Because they deny the existence of the Jew and Israel, and they cannot exist with their view. And they got a big shock coming. Because they say, for example, the nation of Israel is illegitimate. I'd like to say to them, who gives you the right to say that? May 14th, 1948, Israel became a nation in one day. So Isaiah chapter 66, God said regarding Israel, can a nation be born a second time?
So I was making reference in the last podcast to Jeremiah, but he's talking about Isaiah here. I mean, there's prophecies in Jeremiah and in Isaiah and Ezekiel and Zechariah about the return. And there's so many, like I said, I have so many passages that I'm not going to be able to read them all here, but we're going to read some of them and then we'll pick this up in the next podcast. But the prophecies about Israel being scattered, the original nation of Israel being scattered, and then also returning to rebuild the city, to rebuild the temple. There's many of these prophecies. I said that he was referring to Jeremiah. He's clearly talking about Isaiah here, but Isaiah is not any better for him, as I'm going to show you, because Isaiah actually prophesied nearly 200 years before the Babylonian captivity. But he's talking about Isaiah 66, and we're going to read them here in a moment.
To say to them, who gives you the right to say that? May 14th, 1948, Israel became a nation in one day. So Isaiah chapter 66, God said regarding Israel, can a nation be born a second time in one day? And yet behold, as Israel was in travail, she brought forth her son. Remarkable.
All right.
No nation in the Bible is said to be born a second time in a day.
Born a second time in a day. Born a second time in a day. I mean, so the Edict of Cyrus happened in one day. Cyrus issues this edict in one day for the Jews to return home and rebuild their temple and rebuild their city. Now, the passage that Pastor Hibbs is talking about is Isaiah 66. We're going to read it. This is Isaiah 66, verse 7. And it says, behold, she goes into labor, she gives birth. Before the pains come upon her, she delivers a son. Who has ever heard of such a thing? Who has ever seen things like this? A country born in a day? A nation? Can a country be born in a day, or a nation be brought forth in a moment? Yet no sooner is Zion in labor than she gives birth to her children to bring do I bring to them the moment of birth and not give delivery? Do I bring to them the moment of birth and not give delivery, says the Lord? Do I close up the womb when I bring delivery, says the Lord? So this is the passage that he's talking about. Rejoice with Jerusalem and be glad for her, all you who love her. So can a country be born in a day, or a nation be brought forth in a moment? This is the passage that Pastor Hibbs is talking about. And again, like I said, the fact that he's talking about Isaiah and not Jeremiah, it's not any better for him, because Isaiah gave that prophecy between 150 years and 200 years before the Babylonian captivity. Jeremiah is prophesying in the kingdom of Judah during the Babylonian siege. He's prophesying about this during the Babylonian captivity. Now, he says the same thing. Jeremiah says the exact same thing that Isaiah says, is that there's going to be a return. This is Jeremiah 31. Jeremiah is prophesying during the Babylonian captivity, during the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem. And at that time of those final days of the kingdom of Judah, he says, at that time, declares the Lord, I will be the God of all the families of Israel, and they will be my people. This is what the Lord says. Jeremiah prophesying. The people who survive what? Survive the Babylonian captivity, survive being scattered to all of these different regions. The people who survive the sword, I will find favor in the wilderness, and will come to give rest to, and I will come to give rest to Israel. The Lord appeared to us in the past, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. I will build you up again. I will build you up again. And you, virgin Israel, will be rebuilt. I will build you up again, and you're going to be rebuilt again. You will take up your timbrels and go out to dance with the joyful. Again, you will plant vineyards on the hills of Samaria, and the farmers will plant. So this is all saying that I'm going to build you up again. This is Jeremiah prophesying during the Babylonian captivity, saying that I will build you up again. Now, can he be talking about those who survived the sword being built you up again after the Babylonian captivity, that I'm going to bring you back again after the Babylonian captivity? The same thing that Isaiah said 150 years before. Can a nation be born in a day? This is one of the issues that I have with the eschatology of the dispensationalists and the Christian Zionists, is because every passage that they talk about could very well be talking about what happens to the Jews after the Babylonian captivity. And when Cyrus gives his edict for them to go back, rebuild the city, rebuild the temple, this could all be referring to that, and not 1948 at all, and not the nation of Israel today. It's what I'm trying to explain to you. Read some more of these. I don't want to get back into Deuteronomy in this podcast. We'll pick this up in the next podcast. But even Deuteronomy, which was written over 1,000 years before the Babylonian captivity, these are the laws of Moses. It refers to, I'm going to scatter you because of your disobedience and because you worshiped other gods and did all these bad things, but I'm also going to bring you back. Well, the bringing back part could we be referring to what happens after the Babylonian captivity and what Cyrus allowed them to do, and not be talking about 1948 and the creation of Israel in 1948. That I want you to listen to what Pastor Hibbs says here again.
That is the study of Bible prophecy, because all replacement theology people have to put the church in all of the issues of the future of Israel. They take Israel out and they put the church in. So they've got eschatology that is completely messed up. Why? Because they deny the existence of the Jew and Israel, and they cannot exist with their view. And they got a big shock coming, because they say, for example, the nation of Israel is illegitimate. I'd like to say to them, who gives you the right to say that? May 14th, 1948, Israel became a nation in one day. So Isaiah chapter 66, God said regarding Israel, can a nation be born a second time in one day?
So can a nation be born a second time? It doesn't say that. It doesn't say a second time. Can a nation be born a second time? We just read it. It says, can a country be born in a day? Can a nation be brought forth in a moment? I mean, where does it say a second time? Because quite frankly, 1948 would have been a third time, not a second time. The second time that the nation was born was after the Edict of Cyrus, after there was no nation. The nation was destroyed. The temple was destroyed. Everything was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. The people were scattered. There was no kingdom of Judah. There was no nation. So the country be born a second time would have been after the Edict of Cyrus, after Cyrus allows the people to go back and rebuild the city and rebuild the temple. That's the second time. 1948 would have been a third time. So again, we'll pick this back up in the next podcast. And I have a lot more to share. I didn't want to, spend as much time on the incident in Minneapolis as I did, but oh well. We'll pick this back up in the next podcast, talking about the rebuilding of Jerusalem, the rebuilding of the temple. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.